Thank you, everybody. Welcome to my presentation tonight. The title is I'm Anxious About the Unknown Future. And this topic is very relevant, obviously, because of some of the events that unfolded today on Capitol Hill. There appeared to be some protesters, and there also appeared to be a mob of people that were invading Capitol Hill and trespassing. And some of these people are either very upset with the way our democracy has been laid out, or they're upset about the manner in which our democracy is being executed, or they're upset about both. So we don't know what's going to happen with this news story from today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, or next year. We don't know what's going to happen with employment. We don't know what's going to happen with COVID. Today on the news, there were some very emotional and disturbing scenes that I saw. And so I want you to know that this presentation tonight is applicable to the future, whether we're talking about jobs, internships, COVID, our elections, and the way the presidency is going to unfold. This information that I'm going to talk to you about tonight is going to come in really handy for everything. Thank you once again for joining me. Let's get started with my outline. I'm anxious about the unknown future. That is my title. And what we're going to cover today is how to reconcile what is versus your expectations in life. So in one column, we have the way things are. We have what is. These are the things that are going on right now outside of you. In another column, you have a vision of the way you want your life to be. And you have visions of the way it should unfold. So what I'm going to try to teach you tonight is how to bridge the gap between what is over here versus what you want and your expectations. Section 1, I'm going to introduce a concept called your life curriculum. Your life curriculum includes situations and circumstances that are outside of you, that you have no control over. Section 2 is going to talk about how to separate facts from fiction. And again, that's really important, especially on a day like today, when there's a lot of news media pumping out a lot of information and disinformation. Section 3, I'm going to talk to you about why it's so important to separate the facts in the world versus the fiction or the narrative and self-talk that we tend to tell ourselves up here. And I'm going to walk you through what I call an emotional framework, and the acronym is STEER. I will follow that up with a conclusion and a great quote for you. And I love this picture here to start off the evening, because your brain is really going to get a good workout in the next 20-25 minutes or so. I hope you can be present. I hope you can listen and really hear what I have to say. Because what we want to do is get your brain to lift some weights tonight. Let's start with section 1. Your life curriculum. What is it? What does that mean? For now, ignore the slide. And I want you to picture yourself going to school. Imagine yourself sitting in a classroom. It's the first day of class. And your teacher or your professor hands you a course syllabus or a course outline. And they tell you, in this course, these are all the things we're going to do. These are all the things you're going to learn. These are the outcomes. Similar to a syllabus or a course outline, you have been given your own life curriculum. Now, your curriculum is different from your neighbors, from your friends, from your spouse, from all the people you know. Everybody's life curriculum is unique and different. Now, the tricky thing with our curriculums is that we don't know the outcome. We don't know what's coming our way. Obviously, we don't know what the future holds. That's the difference between a life curriculum and a syllabus. Look at the slide now, and in this table, I have given you examples of your life curriculum. So starting at the top left, other people in your life are part of your curriculum. The words that people say, the words people say to you and the words people say to each other are part of your life curriculum. Their actions and other people's behaviors are part of your curriculum. And all of these other things that are listed in the table are part of your curriculum. This curriculum includes situations and circumstances that are outside of you. They're outside of your control. I refer to them as externals. As I've written here at the bottom, these situations and externals, and there are a lot more, this is just a small example, but these situations provide your curriculum to you. Your challenge in life is to interpret this curriculum. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about interpreting your curriculum. All of your situations and circumstances outside of you exist. They're just there. They're neutral. They mean nothing until your brain has a thought. And then your brain says, this is good, or this is bad, or I like this, or I don't like that. So the situations are just kind of lingering out there, and they don't mean anything until your brain starts telling you thoughts and interpretations. I also call those perceptions. Your brain's job is to assign meanings to your life curriculum, and those meanings are called beliefs and thoughts. So interpreting your curriculum can get really tricky because what the brain likes to do is offer you thoughts and beliefs, and sometimes we take the bite, and sometimes we go for it. Sometimes we believe the narrative or the self-talk that's going on up here. Sometimes we believe that our self-talk, as I say in number 2, is factual. Sometimes we believe that there are actually facts. And then number 3, we live our lives based on these narratives or these statements that I call self-talk that we think are factual, but they're really not. Okay, so that's where it gets really tricky. Just because you believe something is true doesn't mean it is. And part of our job as humans, we have a human prefrontal cortex. Part of our job is to discern and to decide what is it we want to believe. I've listed here in the middle a couple of very generic examples of self-talk or narratives that some of us tell ourselves when things get tough. The first one, my future has been ruined. The second one, the world is so unstable. What's going to happen? The third one, this wasn't supposed to happen to me. This wasn't part of the plan. Now what am I supposed to do? And on and on and on. So again, it's very important to discern between fact and fiction. And I'm going to go through a couple of examples here in the next slide. But at the bottom of this slide, the big takeaway is that we cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary suffering and pain when our brain feeds us these narratives and then we end up believing them as if they're true. So here are some examples of some of the things I've heard lately after talking to some of you that you believe to be the truth. And what I've written here in green is that these are examples of subjective opinions that you think are true, but they're really not. So the first one, COVID has ruined my future. I was supposed to get a job, I was supposed to get this internship, and now they're not hiring anymore. Number 2, there's a big debate about masks right now. Some people believe masks protect you and you better wear them at all costs, and other people believe, I don't need to wear a mask. They don't do anything. And then there's everybody in between. Okay, these are all different opinions people are floating around. Number 3 is an example I heard today on the news as I was watching the events unfold on Capitol Hill. and I watched different news sources, and at one point in time I heard somebody say, "This is a dark day for democracy." Number 4, how many of you have told yourselves, my future is so unstable, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know what it looks like, my future is unknown, what am I supposed to do? So these are 4 examples of narratives that we tell ourselves that we think are true, but I'm here to tell you they're really not. Narratives are opinionated and subjective. Now on the next slide, I'm going to list these 4 examples, and next to these examples, I'm going to restate these narratives as facts. So let's see what these facts look like. Number 1, instead of telling yourself COVID has ruined my future, you could tell yourself COVID has changed my future. It didn't ruin it, it's just changed it. And number 2, the debate about the masks. Well, what is the fact about masks? It is a fact that there is no medically universal agreement as to what kind of masks should be worn and when and how. Number 3, this is a dark day for democracy. Sometimes it's so easy to get sucked into the news and to believe what they're saying simply because they're on TV. I'm here to tell you for number 3, this is a dark day for democracy. That is somebody's opinion. Today was Human Day. Yesterday was a human day, and tomorrow is going to be another human day. This is life experience. That's what this is. It's not a dark day in democracy. Number 4, instead of telling yourself my future looks unstable, let's look at the fact. The future, if you think about it, is always unknown. You could have a job waiting for you next week, tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Everything is always unknown. Anything can change at any time. Facts are undisputable and objective. That is the difference between fact versus fiction. At the bottom of this slide, what I've written is that you should try to separate facts from fiction before you decide what to believe. And I'm going to walk you through a demonstration on how to do this. This is really important. Before you decide what you want to believe, ask yourself, is this really a fact or is this just my self-talk? Beliefs and thoughts. We're going to talk about your STEER emotional framework. And what this framework does is it demonstrates the way your thoughts and your feelings play out in your life. And it demonstrates how your thoughts and beliefs create your reality for you. That's why it's so important to discern between fact versus fiction. So let's start at the top. Situations, which are externals or circumstances outside of you, lead your brain to think thoughts and beliefs. So I already explained that earlier in the presentation. The brain's job is to interpret what's going on around you. Now, those thoughts and beliefs, whatever they may be, are going to generate energy or emotion inside of you. And that energy and emotion is going to lead you to behave and take action in certain ways. And if you look at all of the actions you take and put them all together, those actions create your reality. So what I'm saying here is that your reality is really triggered by your thoughts and beliefs. That's why it's so important to understand what it is you are actually believing. Your thoughts propagate your reality. I'm going to walk you through a real-life demonstration on the next 2 slides. We're going to apply this STEER emotional framework to a real-life situation. Now, the situation is listed at the top. You had a job offer and it's been rescinded. Company called you and said, you know what, we just don't have the budget. We know you were supposed to start working, but sorry. Now, that's a situation, it's beyond your control. There are many different ways you could interpret that situation. In this example, I chose the specific thought of this was not part of my plan. Okay, and this is a real life example. Somebody said, this is not part of my plan. This is not supposed to happen. It shouldn't be this way, and on and on and on. And what that does is that generates an energy inside of you. In this person's case, it was anxiety and paranoia. The person was anxious about the future. The person was paranoid about, how am I supposed to find a job now? The actions that resulted from this energy was that this person started gathering evidence in their brain to prove things were just going wrong in life. The world was against them. They blamed COVID, and they blamed their employer. They dwelled on the worst case scenario, which was, how am I supposed to find another job? The economy is down. COVID is affecting everything. And then they also had self-doubt. So when you take all of these actions and you put them together, what that created for this person is that it reinforced this belief that this is not part of my plan. And this belief kept getting recycled over and over. And it was building a stronger and stronger neural pathway in the brain. And that means the brain made it very easy to keep thinking this thought over and over, because that neural pathway was so strong. The big takeaway from this demonstration is that the energy of anxiety and paranoia were not due to the situation. This person was not feeling this energy because their job was taken away. They were feeling this energy because of what they were telling themselves. This wasn't part of my plan. Now, on the next slide, I'm going to walk you through a similar demonstration. The situation is going to stay the same. The job offer is going to be rescinded, but I'm going to offer a new thought, a different perspective. So if this happened to you in the past, or perhaps if it happens to you in the future, you could keep this in mind. Here's a thought that you could have. I'm learning that sometimes plans work out and sometimes they don't. If you could believe that, if you could tell yourself that in this situation, perhaps you might feel neutral. Perhaps you might feel resilient or stable. Perhaps that might make things feel manageable to you. And in that case, with that sort of energy, what kind of action are you going to take? Well, you're probably going to create a plan B and start putting it into practice. You're probably going to focus on the things that are within your control instead of blaming or dwelling. You're probably going to resume your own personal development, and you're not going to quit. So at the end of the day, if you were to take these actions based on this type of energy, which came from the thought that you're learning sometimes things work out and sometimes things don't, the reality you create for yourself is that you're learning how to adapt to your external surroundings. Big takeaway here at the bottom is that this is an example of how you can reconcile what is versus your expectations and the things you want in life. It starts by your interpretations. It starts by the way your brain chooses to interpret your surroundings. Let's summarize briefly what I taught you today. Number one, your brain's job is to interpret your given life curriculum. Number two, learn how to separate fact from fiction before you decide what to believe. And the reason you want to do that is because of number three. You want to steer your life to be able to reconcile what is versus what you want. And you can use that steer emotional framework to help you do that. So it's really, really important to be aware of what it is you're believing, what it is you're thinking up here. Is that what you want to believe? In conclusion, you make yourself suffer unnecessarily when you resist what is. When you resist circumstances and situations that are out there, you're going to hurt. Adapt your brain to your surroundings. Don't try to seek certain situations and fit them into a little box that resembles a perfect world you'd like to live in. You're going to be searching and trying for a really long time, and it's very exhausting to live that way. At the bottom of this slide, I've offered a question to you. If you find yourself in a rut or you feel stuck, perhaps you're a little depressed, try asking yourself, ask your brain, am I judging here or am I helping? And with that, I would like to say thank you. I would welcome all of your feedback. Please send me a note, gina@deliberatedoing.com, and let me know what the big takeaways were for you. And if you haven't already, sign up for my monthly newsletter. I offer mental wellness resources and tips every month. And connect with me on LinkedIn, please. And at the bottom of this slide, this is my very last slide, I want to offer this quote to you, that life is not about what the future brings to you. It's really about what you bring to it.